it's Amy, and today I thought I would share with you all of the books I've picked up from the library in the last month. And no, I haven't even read any of these yet. And some of them have been in my house for a couple weeks. But I plan on picking up at least half of them. At least half of them. There's a large stack of books. I have a library problem, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I go in the library, even if I'm going to pick up books that I have on hold. Like yesterday, I had 2 books on hold, and I came out with 4 because I just couldn't help stopping and looking at all the books because they're free. Library is how I find new authors. I try out new genres without any risk of spending money on something that I may not like, or an author that's writing style is just something that I don't jive with. And so I tend to pick up a lot of books from the library. So without further ado, let's just jump in to all of the books that I picked up in the last month. The first 2, I'm just going to show that I have 2. They're actually going to be on my TBR for the sweater weather readathon, so I don't want to spoil my TBR. The next book is How Sweet It Is by Dylan Newton. This is a contemporary romance novel, and it follows, what is her name? Kate. She is a wedding event planner, and she is known for just making these spectacular happily ever after, like, oh, how romantic moments in weddings. And then her best friend asks if she would help with a book launch party, and Kate says, yes, I will help you because you're my best friend, before she knows that it's for an author that writes very, very graphic horror books. And that's not exactly something that Kate knows a lot about, but she goes into it, and I'm assuming that the author, whose name is, what is his name? Drake Matthews. I assume that Drake and Kate don't really hit it off because Kate is all, you know, fluffy clouds and he is all dark horror. And of course, you know, there's probably going to be some kind of romance in it. And so I started it last night, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. I mean, I got like 12 pages in. Oh, exactly 12 pages in. I believe it's just going to be a fun romance novel, and I'm just here for all of the fun romance. So that is How Sweet It Is by Dylan Newton. The next book is one of my extra books that I picked up last night, and that is For the Love of Friends by Sarah Goodman Confino. And I completely picked it up because of the cover, because she's sitting in front of a computer and she has a cup of coffee, and I just felt like this girl is going to be someone that I will be able to relate to. And so this is about a girl who ends up being in 5 or 6 weddings in like 6 weeks, and she is single, you know, and her parents are like, you're 32 and how are you still single? That's just awful. So she starts writing this blog anonymously to kind of get out her feelings about, you know, being single and being a part of all these weddings and everything that goes into it. And of course, probably something's going to happen where all of her family and friends find out, and it's going to all go down and something's going to happen. And so it just sounds just so fun. The next book is also one of my extra books that I picked up last night, and again, it's because of the cover, and that is The Lights of Sugarberry Cove by Heather Weber. And this is about 2 sisters. There was something tragic happened in their past, and they both left their small little town, and they're coming back to their town because their mom is sick to help run this inn. And I'm anticipating a lot of small town vibes, and they're coming back during this like lantern festival, and it feels like it's going to be like a Hallmark movie in a book. And so I just love, if you can tell by these 3 books, these are probably all like very Hallmark movie-esque books, and I'm very, very here for it. This season is definitely one of those seasons where I just love a good Hallmark movie and a good Hallmark type book, so I'm looking forward to picking this one up. So recently, Netflix added Titanic, the movie that came out in the 90s, and it was this big, huge thing, and I just remember loving this movie. And so when I saw this, I was like, I have to pick up this book. And this is Luck of the Titanic by Stacey Lee. And this is about a Chinese girl who has a ticket to get on the Titanic, but she is denied because she is Chinese, and Chinese are not allowed on the Titanic. But she somehow makes it onto the ship as a stowaway. And I love any kind of story that revolves around the Titanic. It's just, because you know what happens. You know what the end, like, what happens to the ship. And so it's like, what is going to happen to this character in the midst of this tragedy that we already know the outcome of. And so I'm really looking forward to picking this up. The next book is a book that I recently saw on Kayla from Books and Lala's channel. And I don't normally pick up a lot of, like, domestic thrillers or horror books or, like, mystery thrillers. I like a good, sorry, there's a fly. I like a good detective mystery book, you know, give me, you know, something that's like psych. But this book just sounded really intriguing, and that is Such a Quiet Night by Megan Miranda. And this revolves around someone that was accused of a murder, and she has been acquitted. And she goes back to the neighborhood that this happened in, and she's trying to figure out what happened. And I think the thing that intrigued me the most was that the book has a map. And I love a good map. I love a good map. And I love a map in, like, a contemporary setting. You know, like fantasy, I think you always should have a map in a fantasy book, just because it helps readers, you know, with not knowing the world. But in a contemporary setting, a map is just, I just love it. And so I think that is what appeals to me. So, and also it just sounded really interesting. And so I'm looking forward to picking this book up. The next book is the second book in the Inheritance Games series, and that is the Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And I'm really excited about getting into this book. If you like a good, if you like a good puzzle mystery novel that is set in a very, very mysterious, weird, crazy, secret passage type mansion, I would highly recommend the Inheritance Games and then picking up the next book, the Hawthorne Legacy. So I'm looking forward to diving into this book. One is definitely one that I will for sure be picking up before I have to return it. Next book is another book in a series, and that is The Betrayed by Kira Cass. This is the second book in the Betrothed series. I don't know what the series is, but the first book is The Betrothed. And I liked the first book, but I just didn't know if I liked it enough to commit to buying the whole series. So I decided I want to know what happens in the rest of the series, so I'll just check it out from the library. And I'm not really sure exactly what is going to happen in this book. I can make a pretty good guess of what's going to happen. I really liked The Betrothed until the end, and I didn't like how it ended. So we'll see how I like this book. So the next book is a book that has actually been out for a while, and I meant to pick it up when it first came out, but I just didn't, and then I forgot about it, and that is Lost in a Book by Jennifer Donnelly, and I believe this is some form of Beauty and the Beast retelling. I'm guessing because of the cover, and I believe other people have said that it's some sort of Beauty and the Beast retelling. I haven't read the synopsis, and I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to dive into the book and experience it and find out what it's about as I read it. So we'll see how it is. We'll see. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so that is Lost in a Book. So finally, the last book that I have to share with you is just a random middle grade book that I saw that looked really fun, and that is Curse of the Phoenix by Amy Carter. And this is it has dragons and unicorns and fairies, and it's a middle grade fantasy novel. And so I really want to start reading a lot more middle grade since I have two boys, so I have books that I can recommend to them that I've read, even though, I mean, my oldest is 3.5, so it's not like he's going to be reading, you know, chapter books anytime soon, but it could be something that we can read together as a family. So this just looked fun, and I mean, who doesn't like a good book about dragons and unicorns and fairies? So we'll see how it is. Okay, guys, that is my very large library haul. Let me know if you read any of these books down below, what you thought of them. If you are planning on reading any of these anytime soon and want to maybe buddy read, let me know. I love a good buddy read. And as always, guys, I hope you're having a great reading month, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye!